Welcome, guys. So super excited to be here with my great friend, David Vollmer, and we're here in the Legacy Builder studio, and this is the very first episode here in the studio, actually. So I'm really excited about the conversation. We're going to talk about the power of one relationship and how that one relationship has the ability to impact thousands, tens of thousands, or even millions of people's lives like ours has at this point.
Yeah.
And the best is yet to come,
That's right.
as we always say, right? But we're going to tell you some things that we learned on the journey of, we met in 2009 over at Gold's Gym in, what was that?
Reading, Pennsylvania.
Reading, Pennsylvania. Yeah. We're both from Pennsylvania. And so there's some lessons that we have that we want to share with you. Some really cool things and some really things that sucked, but there's things that we learned in our relationship journey. Right. Really, it's been a relationship journey.
That's true. And most people don't talk about this stuff. You know, everybody always says, oh, I've been friends with them for so long and it's been great. Well, you know, we had a lot of ups and downs, and there was a couple times where it was a few years when we didn't really speak because we weren't communicating properly.
Yeah, and I think that what's key to that is, like, you know, people come in and out of your life, right? But there's people that are also constant in your life. And I think a lot of times people get sour or sideways in a relationship and they never repair it.
Right.
We've just done a great job at repairing it.
Right.
Not always immediate.
No. It takes some, conscious effort. And then you realize what you're missing in that relationship because we both added a lot of value to each other. And we started missing that and realizing, oh, shit, we made a mistake here. You know, we want to move this thing forward. And then, we just did.
Yeah.
Luckily,
So we'll get into all those details, those juicy details, because I think there's some, it'll be of value to you. And so let's go back 2009 when we met at the gym. So I'll start that off so I was in the gym with my buddy and we were working out, and I saw this big dude over there working out with some weird contraption.
Who was that?
That was this guy. And so, I was probably 170 pounds at that point. I was smaller.
Like 130, maybe.
Yeah, probably 130. But I saw him over there in the gym, and he's all strapped in, got these straps, this big contraption. I'm like, what in the world is that? So I was like, I got to go talk to this guy. So I went over, talked to him, didn't know that he was the owner of that company. But that's how we actually technically met, is you were working out with your device that you created from scratch, which was awesome. And
the device was called the isolator, and I developed it because I broke my hand and I had no way of working out. So, it straps on the top. You can look it up. It's called the isolator. But you strapped here and here, and I could work out without using my hands. And, when Brian approached me, the first thing he said, do you have an affiliate program? That's the first thing. He walked right up and said that. And I'm like, what's that? I had no idea. I was new to internet marketing, all of that kind of stuff. So I was like, I have no idea. And he said, well, he tells me and explains to me, if you give me a link, I can send traffic and you pay me a commission on the sales. And I was like, oh, shit, this sounds awesome. Needless that I know, what he was about to do was going to devastate my life at that time.
So what happened was, at the time, this is 2009. I don't know what month, but 2009. And I had just got back from spending a year in Aspen, Colorado with a business partner out there, developing out my own information product and doing a lot of affiliate marketing. So my background is affiliate marketing, right? So I came back and I was recreating myself at the time. And so I found Dave, and I was in the mode of getting more clients. And so I was like, you know what? Affiliate marketing is my background. I was like, you know what? Maybe I can help this guy. So I asked him, hey, do you have an affiliate program? Like, you have something that's cool, and I think I can promote it. Like, after I heard about what it was and what it does, and more importantly, the story behind it.
Right.
Because the story behind what you created was a powerful story, because the devices that Dave tried, you tried before, right?
Oh, yeah.
Were a bunch of trash. It was all made in China.
Yep.
So it was all junk. And so tell them a little bit about that, because I identified a great opportunity with what you had to offer.
Yeah.
And that's why I even got involved in it in the first place.
Right. Yeah. So when I developed it, I developed it out of the need, because I searched, and when I broke my hand, I Googled, how do you work out with a broken hand? Really didn't find much stuff out there. And then I found a device, it was called Easy Lats. I'm actually going to give them a little plug here. But all it was a piece of fake leather with two O-rings, and you put your elbow in it, kind of like ab straps. And they said you could do lat pull downs with it without using your hands. Since my hand was in a cast, I ordered that thing. It was a piece of junk. You couldn't really work out. It was $100. And now knowing after doing manufacturing for 10 years, it cost 50 cents in material. And I got really ripped off because it was made in China.
Right.
But seeing that device and the junk that was out there, I just went home and manufactured this thing out of need. Never thought it would turn into a business. Never had any other desire to sell it to other people. And as I went to the gym with the final product, people asked me, hey, can I buy that off you? Because my wrist hurts. I have arthritis, or I have tendonitis, or I have, everybody had an ailment and they wanted to buy it. So, I sold like 40 of them right about the time that I met you and, started the website. And it just started to snowball from there. So that was just a very unique thing, because most great businesses and great ideas come from a need, not because you want to think about, I want to start a business and I need to come up with an idea.
Yeah, and so I thought that was awesome. Like, I was like, man, this thing is awesome. It has huge implications, because I know people have ailments and situations like you had.
Right.
Man, this has huge implications. But then you said it's not only for people that have broken hands or broken, ankles or whatever.
Yeah. After utilizing the product, I got some bodybuilder people involved, and they're like, "Oh my God, it isolates muscle groups and all of those type of things."
Well, and you were with a big dude. You were with Seth at the time, I believe.
Yeah, Seth Feroci, yeah.
And so he was with like this big bodybuilder, and you were pretty big at the time yourself, right? Like not an average human being. But I was like, so I love the story, and so I said, "Hey, can I promote? Do you have an affiliate program?"
Yeah, he's talking right now like this is authentic and genuine. Not going to put the screws to me on the back end, but that's what he ends up doing here.
So what happened next was, so my background in affiliate marketing is how do I promote a product and generate revenue, right? How do I move product and how do I move sales? And there's a lot of strategies here for this, but one of them was to identify the keyword and to basically take over that keyword in Google at the time, right? This is 2009.
Yep.
I was doing a ton of SEO, search engine optimization, which is ranking on the first page of Google. And not only like ranking on it was like taking over the whole first page, like dominating Google.
Yes.
And so that's where I was at the time, not doing a heap load of paid advertising, but more leveraging free traffic. So I went upstairs with my buddy, and we were doing abs or something up there.
And this is the first, like he met me at the gym, like right now. This is 15 minutes later.
Yeah. So I went upstairs and I was like, I told my buddy, I was like, hey, I wonder if his domain name's available. Like, whether there's any domain names around his term that's available. So I looked up Isolator Fitness, and sure enough, he didn't buy the .org or the .net or any of that. He missed review. Isolator Fitness reviews, Isolator Fitness bonus. I mean, he had all the golden opportunities available.
I only had isolatorfitness.com.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah. So I bought isolatorfitness.org instantly. I probably bought a few other ones at the time, but I said, you know what, this is going to be a layup. So I went home and built out this website, built a funnel, and literally within 3 days, I was ranking #1, outpacing him.
Yeah. So I went from looking at my sales, because I was getting traffic going to shows and things, and then I'm looking, and literally every single sale that come in on the website was an affiliate commission to Brian. And I was like, what the hell is going on here? How did this guy all of a sudden take all of my sales? It's not like, I don't know what he's doing promoting, but he's taking all of my sales. And I call him, I went on Google, I think, and I searched my name, and I find out that he's #1 in Google and I'm #2. So everybody's clicking. And then he mimicked my website.
Now, mind you, my background's in marketing, right? I got into this game in 2006. So, I was already 3 years into the industry.
Right.
So I knew the power of building your own database. So I built out a landing page that first captured their information before they bought.
Right.
So I knew who bought. So I could cross-reference the data. And so I knew, and I could also build a relationship with them in the future and sell them more stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Not just selling
so
stuff.
He's like stealing my customers. I was so pissed.
That's how he viewed it at the time.
Yeah. I viewed it. It was the worst thing. My wife says, I remember the day, we were talking about this last night. She's like, I remember the day that you looked on the website and you saw that Brian was taking all of your traffic because he was ranked #1 with isolatorfitness.org.
He was fuming. I remember the call. I got a call. He's like, I'm not paying you. But we need to meet.
Yeah.
We need to sit down and we need to have a conversation about what in the world you just did.
Right. I was mind blown because, I pride myself in, vetting people. I'm not a real good, you can't sales pitch me very well.
Yeah.
And I wanted to vet you hardcore, and my God, like this just blew me away.
Yeah. So I was trying to get a client. I was trying to get a relationship with him because I knew I could take his business to the next level, right? Like that's what I do. That's who I am. That's what I do. So I see opportunities and I see where they are and I see the potential of where they could be. That's just who God created me to be. Like that's just the skill set I've acquired.
Yep.
And so I saw an opportunity. I'm like, man, this thing could be 1,000 times where it's at right now. And that's the mindset I came in on it as. And I was like, you know what? And I always say this, right? You got to earn the right to make an offer.
Yeah.
So rather than coming in and saying, hey, dude, like I can help you take this thing to the next level. It's going to be $10,000 a month.
Yeah, I wouldn't have believed them.
He would have never said yes to that idea because number one, your product wasn't even generating $10,000 a month at the time. It was generating a couple $100 or maybe a couple $1,000.
Yeah, a couple thousand is all.
Definitely wouldn't be able to afford. You might have been able to afford $500 a month for a consultant, but definitely not $10,000 a month. So I came in from the perspective of let me show this guy what I can do, blow his mind away, and then maybe that'll open up opportunities for us to do something else in the future or do something that's related to what you're doing, to the business that you were doing.
Yeah, right? No, 100%. Yeah, so that's that. When we sat down that next time, it was probably 2 weeks later. Yep. We met at Panera Bread.
Okay.
We were sitting at Panera Bread, and you opened up the presentation. I was fuming. I was still mad. Like I wanted to jump across the table.
It was still hot. Yeah, you just feel the heat coming off. He was hot.
So, but then as he started talking and he started saying, this is where my expertise is. This is what I have learned. This is what I've done. And this, if you do this, it's repeatable. And he showed me like, holy cow, like if you follow his knowledge or his wisdom based upon all the facts, it was going to scale. No matter what you did, it was going to scale.
Yeah.
And at that point, I was like, I just need to befriend this kid, because he was, 26 years old.
My 20s.
Yeah. And I'm in my 30s, and I was like, this little snot, knows a lot of stuff. So we just started forming our relationship there. Yep. And, I never paid him for that, what he did there. But we worked together, and he allowed me to utilize his platform, his knowledge, because then I brought on some other products because he was like,
so before we jump into that, so what happened was I came in and I had developed at this time 13 questions that I can ask any business.
That's right, yeah.
So I came in and I already had the questions that allowed me to identify the holes. Okay, so there's 13, probably more than that, but there's like core 13 questions I found. I can roll into any business and I can ask these 13 questions and I'm going to find if there's a whole opportunity or not.
Right.
Which is a very valuable thing to have.
Yep.
So I asked them one very important question, right, which I vividly remember, and that was, what's the lifetime value of your customer? And
I told him it was, the product cost $110. I said it's $110.
Right, and lifetime value is how much are you able to earn per customer?
Right, because I was just selling customers one at a time, like just once.
Right.
Like once, I never thought of selling them another item.
Yep.
Never, I just, they're going to buy my product and that's it.
Right.
And then if they need a new one.
And they might refer, maybe their
friend
cousin or friend. Right. That was his only model for that business at the time.
Correct.
Right.
Yep.
So I sat down, I said, how can we increase the lifetime value of the customer? And I said, what else would they buy or are they buying now?
Yeah. Yeah. So he did that practice with me. And I had to generate everything that someone that bought my product needed in their life because I was focused on the fitness industry. So he's like, well, what are they eating? What are they using to eat? What are they using to work out with? What do they wear to the gym? All of these things he brought into play. And it was like mind blowing to me, like that just because of one sale, now I could sell them all these other things because I had their email address, their phone numbers, all of our contact info. And that's what he started presenting to me.
Yeah. And really it's like, how can you support them deeper? Like, I think that's a great way to ask the question.
Because they love the product.
How can you support them deeper? Because if they love what you have to sell on the front end, then you can build a relationship over the next decade. That's one common problem I see a lot in this industry is that people think way too short term.
Yeah, they just think it's a sale today,
correct.
There's no repeat sale.
There's no repeat sale. And there's very few people in the industry, at least my industry, which is the world of marketing online, that think about the next decade.
Yeah,
very few.
And e-commerce don't. They just think about this week and next week and next month maybe.
Yep,
that's it.
Exactly.
They don't forecast out.
So we started doing some exercises around what else will they buy, and we came up with you came up with a number of them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
But he came up with one that was a really cool. So why don't you tell me?
Yeah. It was called the 6-pack bag. at the time. It was a really cool organized lunch cooler. Now this is in 2010, late 2009, early 2010 that this product was brought to the market. And it was an organized lunch cooler for bodybuilders. And everybody knows that bodybuilders meal prep. They eat, 6 meals a day. They got to eat, be regimented. And it's really hard to stay organized. Right. And we found this product. I was at the Arnold and found the product. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. And when I told Brian about it, he's like, okay. He's like, you ought to become an affiliate, test the market, and then maybe bring the product in-house and start selling it as a retailer, and just add it on to every person that buys an isolator, then you offer them a bag because it's the perfect audience.
Right. And so we did exactly what I was doing at the time, right? Yeah. Which is what I did with him, right? Was outrank him in a matter of 3 days.
So I went out and bought sixpackbags.net because they didn't have it.
Yep.
They had the .com. And then we did this SEO strategy. We worked together and did that. And then this was kind of amazing because I had 2 pages on Isolator Fitness that had six-pack bags, and I had sixpackbags.net. And I ranked number 1 for sixpackbags.net, ranked number 1 for Isolator Fitness /sixpack bags. And then on our blog, we had a blog post about it, and I had that ranking. And then sixpackbags.com was number 4.
Yeah.
They were pissed.
Yeah.
But
they were as fuming as he was when I first met him.
But we moved 26,000 bags in that short time frame.
Yeah, think about that, guys. 26,000 bags was moved as an affiliate without paying for advertising.
Yeah, I paid zero. I didn't even know how to advertise.
Right.
I was just driving. They were coming to the website for my website sales, but then also they were paying for advertising. They were getting well known. They were doing YouTube videos.
Now, I'm curious, did you, and I don't remember, that's why I'm asking, did you add anything else as a bonus for buying through you? Or is it just straight a pass-through commission?
It was just straight pass-through commission.
Yeah. So if you want to really supercharge like the affiliate game, you add a bonus on that makes it irresistible for them to buy through you and versus anyone else.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, there's no reason to go to the main brand because you can go to you, for example, and buy it and get the bag and get X number of bonuses.
That's right. Knowing what I know now, it would have blown it away because you taught me so much.
Yeah. But what happened, guys, we dominated Google, Yahoo, Bing, all search engines, and then YouTube as well.
Yeah, because then we had Seth Feroce doing our videos on six-pack bags, and they were ranking number 1. And then we started doing review videos, and we just hammered it. We were the leading informational
Basically,
source.
you became the marketing engine for the brand.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. That's really what happened.
Yep.
And that lasted for about a year.
Yeah, about a year.
A year. And then tell everyone the story, what happened like towards the end there. So think about it. He moved 26,000 bags, lunch coolers.
Yeah.
26,000 lunch coolers for this company. And then what happened?
Well, then there was going to be a sell or not a sell. I don't know what happened exactly with the company, but they decided that I was no longer a viable marketing avenue for the bags. So then I saw the market though, because I sold so many bags in a short period of time. So then I decided to develop my own bag and manufacture it here in the US. And it was called the ISO bag. And so then now they turned me into I was their number 1 affiliate, their number 1 salesperson. Now they turned me into their number 1 competitor.
Yeah.
And it was devastating for them. Yeah. We had a big court battle. We won. They had to pay all my attorney fees. Like it was a very awesome story. I mean, they weren't going to pay me. I told a judge. He put an injunction on and the seized in a container that came in this port of San Francisco. Oh, wow. It was worth like $150,000. Wow. And I was either going to get a container or get paid.
Wow.
So it was a wild, crazy ride there for a couple years. Yeah. But then that allowed me to grow the brand Isolator Fitness.
Well, I mean, think about it, right? So we talk about, I think it's valuable because in that moment, it looked like a shitty situation, right?
Yeah.
It looked bad, right? Imagine Dave has this income that's coming in from these bags, and then all of a sudden, boom, in a moment's notice, it completely dries up and they shut them off.
Yeah.
That's what happened. They turned the switch off. You can't sell for us anymore.
Right.
Okay? It's kind of like someone losing a job almost.
Yeah, basically it was.
You dried up that opportunity, but guess what? There was a brighter future on the other side.
Well, yeah, and luckily, I captured all the emails being an affiliate. I did the same thing that he did to me. Yeah. I had a landing page. I captured their emails. I got all their info. Yeah. So I still had all the customer data on those 26,000 people. So that was the thing and the power that allowed me to pivot and jumpstart it like that. Because when I did a pre-sale on my bags, I sold 3,000 bags in one day.
Yeah.
It was instant.
Yeah.
I just emailed that list.
Yeah.
And
I think what's cool too is, so Dave, you talk about this a little bit. Like, so Dave went to say, he said, I'm going to make my own bag. He did it. You did it with the isolator.
Yep.
You made your own product because the other stuff in the market was garbage.
Yep.
It wasn't sufficient for, your frame and your body type. It just, everything was falling apart.
Right.
So you, out of necessity, created your own product.
Correct.
And the same thing kind of happened here. You now created your own bag, but you went to China, you went to Mexico, and like.
Oh yeah, it was lots of ups and downs. I mean, because the worst one was, I went through a bunch of people trying to find out where the best place to make the bags. I hired a U.S. company that had a plant in China. Thought we could do it there because the U.S. company was involved.
Yep.
Well, air freighted 72 bags in after they built 10,000 of them. Brought them into the country, took them to an event, sold 72 bags at one show, and that was on a Saturday.
Yeah.
By Tuesday, 42 people called me and said, "Dave, my bag fell apart."
Wow.
I was like, "Oh my God!" I just brought in 72 bags and 42 of them fell apart.
Wow.
Like, this is bad because now I got 10,000 bags coming in and they're all going to be junk, and I leveraged my mortgage on my house, for this order. Like, I was devastated, and they wanted me to pay them up front. The rest of the money, I paid 20% down, but I owed them another $200,000.
Yeah.
So I was like, I can't. So at that point, I decided not to bring in the bags, lose 20 grand.
Right.
And at the time, I didn't have 20 grand to lose.
Right.
And started making them in my garage.
Wow.
Like, just out of need.
Yeah. Out of necessity.
Correct.
Right.
And then used all of, still going back to Brian, like the day that I met him, it changed my whole life going forward. And we'll get to more of that in the story, but the amount of people and things that he impacted in my life it was crazy.
Yeah.
From
and
this
you
whole
think,
event.
and you think about that, right? We're going to go back to that key point, which is earn the right to make an offer, right? I didn't come in and make an offer and ask him for a bunch of money up front to help him. I earned the right. I provided massive value in advance. And then eventually I was able to make an offer, right? Far down the road. But if I did not come in with that perspective of I'm going to earn the right, then it wouldn't have cracked your mind open as well, right?
Right.
Because his mind was expanded. A mind once expanded never returns to its original form, which obviously happened for you.
Yeah.
Right. So that quote is true. And so the aftermath of that, think about that. So then Dave went on a journey, said, I'm going to make the best product in the industry.
Yep.
And you did. And then from that, you were able to open up a manufacturing plant. You had over 100 employees, right?
Yeah, 104
employees. And since then, you've sold over 500,000 bags.
Yeah.
Think about it. 26,000. He thought at the time 26,000 bags was a lot.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, 500,000 is a whole nother number.
Yeah.
It's a whole different story.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy what we did. And I always thought that first product that I had as the business started, that was going to be my product.
Right.
Well, it wasn't. You have to be willing to change as you go through this and be open-minded and see opportunity as they come in and seize it, because it will go by you.
Right.
If you don't seize it, why it's there.
I think that's a great lesson for everyone, right? It's like, Dave, you thought the isolator was going to be like your golden ticket to freedom.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
And you thought you were going to be famous for it, and you thought you were going to sell millions of these things. And in reality, it was the gateway into this industry.
Correct.
Really. And you ended up selling a whole different product.
Yeah.
A lunch cooler. You went from selling a strap, a strap, I don't know what you consider that.
Fitness strap.
Fitness strap,
Yep.
to selling lunch coolers.
Yeah. Right? I know. Who would have thought? Yeah.
Right.
But you got to take opportunity. The lesson I learned is you take opportunity when it's presented to you.
Right.
Just like I took the opportunity, I turned the anger that I had towards him that first time and turned it into like, wow, this guy really knows a lot more than I do. How do I leverage him to leverage me?
Yeah.
To leverage my mind, to fill it, to get this knowledge.
Well, we were talking about the other day, and I think you should say that. We should talk about that. So I remember we were talking about Henry Ford.
Yes.
Right. So tell that story, because I think it's valuable for everyone to kind of recap that event for what Henry Ford went through. Because that's what you did at this moment in time.
Yep, 100%. Yeah. So Henry Ford, there's a documentary about him. A news people back in the early 1900s went and interviewed him and said to him, hey, we hear that you know how to do every step in your manufacturing plant. And he's like, yeah, I can answer any question. That's what he said. I can answer any question in my plant as you're sitting in front of me on this interview. Well, so they came in and they said, well, Mr. Ford, how wide is your Model T frame? And he picks up the phone or the message. I don't know if they had a phone back then, but he contacted the head of production and said, how wide is the frame? Oh, 62 inches. 62 inches, he told him. Well, how big are the tires? Or how long does it take to do this? And he just kept making calls to those individuals. And after about 15 questions, the newscaster says, well, you don't know anything. He said, yes, I do. He goes, I hired the experts and put them into place. All I have to do is ask the question because they know what they know, and I am resourceful, and I know how to get that information out of them immediately. So I do know all the answers. Right. I just personally don't know all the answers.
Right.
So, but that's the way you need to be in your life.
I think that's a really important, valuable lesson because I think a lot of people try to do everything themselves and know and learn everything themselves.
Right.
Knowledge is power, but being a jack of all trades is not going to get you anywhere real fast.
No, and I had a business before I met Brian.
Yeah.
And I did everything by myself. I was the CEO, I was the janitor, I was the thing, and I had, guys working for me. But I told myself I had to do everything. If I wanted it done right, I had to do everything.
Yeah.
And that was the worst mistake I ever made in my life. I mean, that company could have grew to $100 million if I would have only applied these practices before that.
Right.
But hindsight's always 20/20. But at least I woke up and took the opportunity to learn from
it. And to think about it, if I would have never came in and said, hey, can I be an affiliate? Can I sell your stuff? Right? That would have never cracked open that opportunity to think differently about your business because you quickly realize you don't know everything about how to scale this business.
Exactly.
And you need to look for people that can help you. Kind of serendipitously, we met.
Yeah. Well, and I think God put us together too to force us to work through a whole bunch of challenges in our life because that made us better people, better husbands, better parents, all that kind of stuff. So I was telling Brian the other day too as we were driving, I said it's really neat to see him mature from a 26-year-old now to a dad, responsible, has a house, all of these things. And it was really cool to be part of his journey, growing up because now, my whole output on life is how many people can I impact in a positive manner? And, impact them like Brian impacted me. And hopefully I impact him in the same manner that he's impacted me. Maybe not with knowledge, but with other wisdoms and other things like that. And that's the power of relationships.
Well, I mean, Tony talks about it too. Proximity is power, right? And so we were talking about that. We were just masterminding with him and Dean Graziosi and Russell Brunson and all these great people. And we were talking about, if you want to go to the next level, you need to start getting yourself around people at a higher level.
That's right.
Who can push you beyond where you are, right? And that's huge. And that's really what we do now. We constantly are up-leveling one another through our conversations.
Right.
It's essentially a mastermind, but it's just you and I.
Yeah, it's it's awesome. You know what I mean? Because I was telling Brian yesterday, this has been a best 4 days on a mini vacation. Brought the wife and my son down, and we just spent so much time talking about the possibilities and things that we can do, and we change each other's minds on our perspectives because we were missing things. We bring our knowledge and wisdom into the conversation now, and it's like, wow. I'm glad I talked to you about that because I missed that.
Yeah.
And
for sure.
It's going to take things to the next level.
Well, and it's not easy. Not everybody's an entrepreneur.
Right.
And not everybody thinks the same way that we think, right? And so it's sometimes challenging, right? I mean, you guys can probably relate. I mean, a lot of your families probably don't think the same way that you think.
Right.
Some of my family does. My dad does and my brother does. Fortunately, I've been blessed to be surrounded by entrepreneurs.
Yep.
But for most people, that's not the situation they're in. And the friend pool too, right? So, I mean, I even go back to thinking about, friends I had in high school. I mean, they don't think this way. They don't have businesses like we have.
Right.
It's a very different world.
Right.
So it's so important to surround yourself with the right pack. I always say that. You gotta surround yourself with the right pack.
Right.
Because that pack is going to either pull you up or it's going to pull you down. Or it's going to keep you, because you're never just staying still, really.
Right.
You're either going backwards, you're either dying, or you're growing. Which one?
Right.
You get to choose.
And I always tell people, if you want to be a drug dealer, hang around with drug dealers.
Right.
If you want to be a smart business person, hang around with people that are smarter and more wealthy, and have the structure of the businesses that can help you because
you want.
they can just tell you things that you'll never, or it take you too long to learn.
Right. It's kind of like, it's like, Tony was talking about, it's like, if you want to sell your company for $1 billion, and you can apply this to, if you want to sell your company for $1 million, right? So you can apply it on every scale. If you want to sell your company for $1 billion, then you need to hang around people you need to play pitch and catch.
Yes.
With people that have either have sold their company for $1 billion or more, or they have $1 billion company.
That's right.
Right. And so start surrounding yourself with people that are at a much higher level than you are, and get in proximity with them so they can pull you up to the next level and challenge you to think bigger. Right. And that's what it does all the time. Let's go into some of the challenges that our relationship had.
Yeah.
Because I think that's like the juicy details that a lot of people don't talk about.
No. And I think people need to hear this because everything is not peaches and cream.
Right.
There's, and it's never that way in your life. And most people in their marriage, they always say their marriage is wonderful. They're full of shit.
Yeah.
Because marriage is challenging. You can have some great times in your marriage, but there's also challenging things that happen, on a yearly basis or, every once in a while, because you have to give and take and you have to compromise and you have to do all these things and you have to learn. And same thing with being a parent. I love being a parent, but it's challenging sometimes. But in 2011, we formed that company. It was D&B Productions.
No, it was B&D Productions.
I had to use his letter first.
Because B comes before D, of course.
I didn't alphabet. So with that company, we started doing video courses, kind of like you do a lot of that now. And this was early on, and we had a client, and we filmed a lot. And then one day I called Brian. I'm like, yo, where you been? And he's like, oh, I moved to California. And like, he was gone. I was pissed. I just lost, I was upset because I lost a friend, because we built a really tight relationship. And then I lost my business partner, and then I didn't know what to do. It was a very challenging point. And from there, that was like 2 years. It was really rocky.
It was just awkward.
It was really awkward. And then he came back to Pennsylvania. And when I had my plant making the ISO bags, and he came in and did a tour.
This is years later, guys. This was, I kind of upped and rolled. I mean, at the time, this is back 2009, like years prior to that, I always had the idea that I wanted to live in California. That's where I wanted to be. That's where I wanted to. That's where I.
And he didn't tell me that at the time.
And I didn't tell Dave that, right? So I made the decision at the time. I had a girlfriend at the time, and we just kind of upped. And we just jumped on a plane and we rolled. We just moved, right? We just boom. But I didn't communicate with him. So it basically put a damper in our relationship, or a wedge.
Right.
Really.
Yeah.
And stuff was going through his head that I didn't know was going through his head. I felt bad because I really did at the time. I was like, oh, this is awkward. Like, how do I even tell him I'm leaving?
Right.
Really, at the time, I think back and I'm like, how do I tell him I'm moving to California? We can still have a partnership, but I'm not going to be here locally anymore. Right. So I really don't want to lose the relationship. I just wanted to be in a different location.
Right. And if you probably would have had that conversation, I would have understood, but I didn't understand that you couldn't be apart. Like, I still didn't understand fully how to work remotely, how to do these things, because I always worked hard and I had to be physically there in those type of things. So I didn't understand at that time.
Right. And we spent a lot of time in person.
Right. Yeah.
We hung out a lot. I went to your house a lot. Went to your business a lot. We were hanging out a lot.
Yep.
So it was different, right? It's like all of a sudden we're hanging out a lot, and then we can't hang out a lot in person anymore.
Right.
Right. Yep. But I didn't communicate it, and so there's really a lesson there. Communication is key in relationships, right? Because a simple communication, just having the conversation would have solved a lot of issues.
All the issues.
Yeah.
Because I just didn't understand. You know what I mean? Right. And you got to always remember that in your relationships, the other person is not thinking the same way as you do.
Right.
Because we have our own thought process, and if you're not communicating, you're never in alignment if you're not communicating. Right. It always goes diverged. Right. You're going from one side to the other. One person's thinking this, and one person's thinking way over here. Right. And then that's why conflict and things happen. It gets worse.
Right.
But I was grateful because when he said he was coming back to Pennsylvania, because we did text.
Yeah.
After about a year and a half, I think it was, we just hit each other up, and he said, by the way, I'm coming to PA. And I missed him.
Yeah.
I missed talking to him. I missed hanging out, because we always laughed. We always had a good time. And I was like, you know what, maybe I'll invite him to the plant if he shows up, maybe we can start moving forward a little bit and see what happens.
Yeah.
But even after you came back, we never even talked about it. Until I was at your house in La Jolla. When we were eating breakfast one morning, and I brought it up. It was very awkward for me, but when we brought it up, it got a little bit emotional, and then we finally realized it, because it was like 5 years that we were kind of hanging out again. But we never talked about what happened in the past.
Right.
Because we kind of just put it off because
we just pushed it off.
We didn't want to have the conversation because we were glad where it was going. But I just felt the calling since I was there.
And we kind of picked up, in my opinion, we picked off where we left off. In a way. I was like, oh man, like we have great synergy.
Correct.
And we have great time together. So like, to me, it was like we just kind of picked up where we left off, but we didn't address the issue, which was the root. There was a root issue that really needed to be pulled. It's kind of like a weed bed, right? You need to pull the root, or else the weed's going to grow back, right?
Right. Yeah, definitely. And I'm glad we did it, because that I think that moment in time really made us learn that communication was key.
Right.
Because right after that, a few years later, we had another rift.
Yep.
And again, it was without communicating. Now, luckily, this rift only lasted a shorter period of time, maybe 3 or 4 months.
3 or 4 months.
So, I don't know if you want to tell a little bit, start that story off.
Yeah. So we, so this, fast forward, I mean, this was what, 2019, I think it was, around that time. 2018, 2019, somewhere in that ballpark.
Somewhere in that ballpark.
And Dave, at this point in time, he'd already sold hundreds of thousands of bags, right?
Correct.
I mean,
and I started a consulting company.
Had over 100 employees at his facility in Reading, Pennsylvania, started his consulting company. And so I started to bring him into my business and people who needed help with e-commerce. So we don't do a lot of e-commerce. In my agency, we don't do a lot of e-commerce stuff. We just don't. So I leaned on Dave. I said, hey, you're in e-commerce every day. You got systems and processes dialed. This is what you eat, sleep, and breathe. So I brought him into a project and had him build out a site for one of our clients. And ultimately, what happened was Dave had did the whole project. Project was done. Project was complete.
And we never talked about really. We mentioned it in passing, like what I was going to get paid, and he just said, "Oh yeah, whatever you need," thinking his number.
Right.
But then I had my number when I added up all the hours and the team involved and my time and everybody, and well, they were two different numbers. And then another thing that happened, that the client stopped paying Brian.
Right.
Like it was just the worst scenario that you could picture.
Right.
Because the cash flow that you had coming in was now dried up.
Right.
You already spent all the money on development.
Yep.
And then there was still more money.
And I still had and there was still more money owed for him to finish the job, but he'd already finished the job, right? So it was this really awkward thing, and we never talked about it. But the reality of that is that we never, and this is a lesson, and I've had to learn this lesson in more ways than just you. I mean, I can talk for days on that. But it's even going back to my grandfather. I mean, my great grandfather developed a patent with an attorney. And the attorney basically sideswiped him and sold his patent from underneath of him and basically screwed him. And the attorney went up and sold the patent for several $1 million.
Right.
So you think I would have learned it then, right? But we never had the details of the agreement. We never had the details of the deal, because that's what it was. It was a deal. And we didn't have that spelled out with clarity.
Correct.
And we didn't sign off on it. Because if we would have, none of that would have happened.
None of it would have happened.
Because we would have been clear.
Yep.
I think that's all it goes back to, being clear about your intention, about your relationship, about the direction you're going.
Yeah.
Right? Because then when you're clear, clarity is power too, right?
100%.
So that was the big thing that looking back. And then what happened was I was convicted one day. I was driving somewhere with Stephanie, and I was convicted to send Dave a check. I was like, I don't feel like I owe him anything, but I felt like it was the right thing to do. And I felt compelled. I was like, you know what? Like, I'm pulling from a reserve. Like, I'm pulling from my business to make this payment that didn't come from the budget of the project. Yep. But it just felt like our relationship's worth more than this measly check.
Right. And it wasn't, to me, it wasn't a lot of money either, but it was the principle of it. Yeah. And because I thought I knew Brian better, and I was hurt again, in that facet. But I was so excited the day I got this letter, because he did it in a Christmas card. because it was right around Christmas.
Yep.
I got the check and I put the check aside and I read what he wrote. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I literally got emotional with Paige. I called you right away. We had an hour and a half conversation.
Yeah.
And that was one of the most uplifting days of my life because I didn't want to lose you as a friend because you add so much value to my life and fun to my life and all of these things. And not much financially anymore, but at the beginning you did.
Right.
You taught me all this, but now we're at this level where it's not about money anymore. It's about impact and relationships and
it's about legacy too.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what we're at right now, right?
Legacy builders.
We're in the studio, and it's really it's not about money. You get to a certain point in your career where it's beyond the income of it, and some of you might be there, some of you might not yet be there, and you really need to get the income to support your family or support your own life. But there gets to be a time if you stay in the game long enough.
Right.
Like people take themselves out too soon. You stay in the game long enough. And you create the right business systems, processes, and team. I think you get to the point like where we're at, where it's not about the income. It's really truly about the impact, and it's about our children's lives and their children's lives. It's about the legacy
and
of
the world.
Yes,
because we like to impact the world and change, and this is why we're doing this video to help. If we can influence just one person, which we think we're going to influence thousands with this video, that it will change your perspective and make you say, "Wait a second. This relationship is worth hanging on to. This relationship is worth fighting for and being more, and using communication and using clarity to take things to the next level. Because if you can surround yourself with wonderful people, you will succeed.
Yeah.
There's just no doubt about
it. Well,
I
think about the impact. So I think about, all that we went through, right? It's right now it's 2021.
Yep.
Okay. So we're more than a decade out. We met in 2009. It's 2021. Right. And we've gone through some crazy things as in our relationship together.
Yep.
We've gone through ups, we've gone through downs, we've gone through emotional moments. And we also gone through emotional moments as a country and as a world, really.
Correct.
Right. Yep. But you look at the aftermath of, I go back to how we started this conversation off, which was the power of one relationship and the value of what one relationship can have. So think about. We were whiteboarding out the story the other day, yesterday, and we were looking at all of the things that had happened, the aftermath of it, right? And it's like literally millions of people's lives have been changed, and hundreds of millions of dollars have generated for many people.
Yeah,
right. Not just you and me. For many people.
Yeah.
I mean, I think about one of our partners, Shemin.
Yeah, it gives me goosebumps with this story with Shemin.
We would have never had the opportunity to connect with her and get her message out to the world and have her make the impact that she's made.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
If it wasn't for our relationship.
Right, yeah. Because I friended Shemin at an event, a Dream 100 event, and it was a great, intimate, a lot of top marketers there in the country.
It's like a mastermind,
a
high-level mastermind group.
Yep, and I met her, and she had a problem which I was able to solve with one phone call.
Yeah.
So I added value to her just as a friend.
Yeah.
And then she told me about her next problem that she wanted to create a course and get it out there to the world, and she's been struggling with it. And I was like, well, you need to meet Brian. So I introduced her to Brian, but she was very, very skeptical because Brian wasn't able to provide the value up front with her because now he's at a different point in his life and he doesn't need to because he's proven it to the world.
Right.
But she was apprehensive. She was, and I kept telling her.
And she was apprehensive because she had spent a lot of money hiring the wrong people.
Correct. Yeah, she was probably
broken.
a couple $100,000 in the hole.
Right.
Because she was choosing the right people and they were feeding her full of fluff.
She was choosing the wrong people.
Correct.
So she chose the wrong people and they kept leading her down the wrong path.
Yeah.
And she was getting nowhere.
So dead ends. And
so that was the resistance that she had on hiring anybody.
Yeah, she wanted it to work, but she had a hard time trusting.
Right.
It wasn't the fact, even with all your credentials, with all the things, she just didn't, she was so scared that she was going to get burned again.
Right.
So, I kept assuring her, and then I actually volunteered to come to her funnel day.
Yeah.
And I sat with her while Brian presented and did his magic. And she was, oh my God, this is great. And then even when it come to cutting the check, she was like, are you sure this is going to work?
Yeah.
And I said, listen, if it doesn't work, I'll pay you back, because I was so confident because I know what Brian can do. Right. I know personally what he can do, and it's personally benefited my life significantly. Yeah. And then she jumped in.
Yeah.
And now,
she has a company that's worth over $50 million. I mean, she's impacted so many people's lives and helped create freedom in, it's countless. I can't even count the number of people that she's impacted, and she's going to continue to impact for the next decade and 2 decades into the future, more, hopefully more.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And it's only one person out of
right.
We were talking last night. Yeah. It was just like the amount of people that we've impacted because we know each other.
Right. Right. And think about this. Like, it's crazy. We're talking about this. If I didn't initiate, he was at the gym working out with this big dude, this big bodybuilder, right? And I just went over to him. I approached him and I just said, hey, what is that? I need to know more about that. So it was, in life, you've got to be active. You got to be proactive.
Yes.
Right? And engage other people, because you really don't know who you're going to meet. I mean, how many times have you been in an event? I know for me, there's tons of stories, but been in an event, and if I didn't go out of my comfort zone to introduce myself or to ask somebody, who are they? What do they do? What are they up to? What is their vision?
Right.
If I didn't go out of my way to make that engagement, then a whole ton of stuff would have never happened.
Right. Right. 100%. I've had that happen so many times. Go to mastermind events, see someone on stage. Oh, it's hard to talk to him. Then you see him in an airport. Yeah. Start shooting shit with him. Yeah. The next thing you know, he's helping you do these massive things because you two connected. Yeah. You got to get outside your comfort zone. You talk to as many people as you can, and you'll know if they add value or if they don't add value. Mm-hmm.
Right.
And just stick around the ones that add value to you, because then you make sure though that you're adding value to them.
Right.
Because that's key.
Right.
It needs to be a two-way street.
Right. Right.
If you feel in the relationship that both of you add, the other person adds more than you do, it's probably the best relationship. Because you think they add more to you and they think you add more to them.
That is truly, I believe, the best relationship. Because if both people feel that that the other person is adding more value or adding equal value, equal or greater, right, value, then there's a good synergy and there's a good balance.
Correct.
Right. But if Dave never added value or I never added value to his life, right, then we wouldn't be sitting here right now.
No.
Right. It would have went to nothing. Right. But every time we connect, we always add value.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a key takeaway, right? Is you go in with the mindset of earning the right.
Correct. Yeah. You provide the value first.
Right.
And see what kind of results you get back.
Correct.
From the other side.
Correct. So you go in with the mindset of, I'm just going to go add value to every person's life that I meet, not expecting anything in return.
Right.
Right. Now you might have an idea that you want something to be fruitful from that relationship. That's great. That's called intention.
Right. Exactly.
I think an intention of an expectation of something great happening is something that you need to have going into it.
Correct. Because a lot of times when we're adding value, our intention is not for our benefit. It's for the benefit of providing that value that someone else will benefit or something will benefit out of it.
Well, I mean, think about some of the things that we're doing now. I mean, some of the things that we're doing now are not about immediate gratification.
Correct.
Some of the things that we're doing now are for the future of our children,
right,
and the future of their children, and really the future of America.
Correct.
So there are some things, I'm not going to say what they are right now, but there are some things that we're doing and collaborating on that are not about now. They're really about the next decade, the next 20, 30, 40, 50, maybe even 100 years from now. I do truly believe that the things that we're working on collaboratively, and we don't have to now, the beautiful thing about technology is we don't have to be.
Right.
I don't have to be in Reading, Pennsylvania.
Exactly.
I can be in Sarasota. You can be in Reading.
Yep.
And when we want to come together, we can come together. I can fly to Pennsylvania and he can fly down to Sarasota.
Yep. And these things aren't even about money.
Right.
It has nothing to do with money anymore.
Right.
Now it's about impact. Right. How many people can we impact? How many lives can we change? And how can we keep that change going in a positive direction?
And I've always heard it said, right, money flows to vision.
Right.
Right. So when you have vision, money flows effortlessly to you. Right. And that kind of sounds probably contrite to some people, right? Like, well, that's like something that people just say, right? But at the end of the day, really, if you have a heart, what I found is that if you're heart centered on impacting people's lives, changing their life in some capacity, whether it's in health, whether it's financially, whether it's relationally, romantically, whatever it is, right? if you have that heart on it, there's no way that you can't be compensated.
That's right. It just comes back to you.
It comes back.
It always
it's
does.
The whole idea of when you plant, you will have a harvest.
Yeah. Well, you always say first you have to till the soil, plant the seed, water the seeds, take care of the seeds, grow them into plants, and then you can bear the fruit.
Yeah, that's right.
And harvest.
Right. And some things are going to bear fruit quickly.
Yes.
Other things are going to take a while. Like bamboo takes 7 or more years to bust through the soil and really start bearing fruit. Yep. And so some things bear fruit instantly. We all love those, right? Yeah. We all love instant gratification, right? It's just the culture we're in. But there's other things that bear fruit. There's a season for it. There's a time for it. There are things that are bearing fruit in our lives that are happening now that we made decisions years ago.
Like a decade ago.
Right.
You know what I mean? We were, our relationship, is kind of like it was then, but it's tighter now.
Yeah.
Because now we have all this wisdom, but we're having the same amount of fun. Yeah. But now we have different ideas, different intentions, different things like that, and it's really moving forward, and it's impacting our families' lives now.
Right.
Because with your daughter, with my son, we're teaching them all these new things, and we're getting them together, and they're seeing the fruits of our hard work over the last decade.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
What else would you say about impact, or from your perspective, how one relationship can really transform their lives and ultimately the lives of those that are around them and then outside their circles?
Well, yeah. I mean, I've impacted so many people in just little ways because of all the things that I learned from you. Like, it's amazing. Like, I help so many people with basic SEO, basic website stuff, basic, little things. But my God, they made such a massive impact.
Yeah.
And now I'm doing it on a volunteer basis for groups where I'm saving them hundreds of hours of time when they're trying to do things.
Right.
Because of using the technology, using the infrastructures, using the processes and systems that I've developed because of what you did back in 2009.
Right.
It's
so to me there, we go back to what the power of one relationship, right? And you never know where that relationship, where it's going to go, right? But kind of summarizing this whole conversation, right? And feel free to just add into it as well. To me, it's, relationships are not going to be smooth sailing. You're going to have challenges, right? You're going to have, because we all have our own self-will.
Correct.
We all have our own needs, desires, and selfish ambitions and things of that nature.
In the way our minds work, we work differently because we're different individuals.
Correct.
We don't think the same. I grew up in Western Pennsylvania in the middle of the woods, and Brian grew up down near Westchester. You know, so it's just a totally different mindset. And our parents were different people and things like that. So never take for granted that you know what they're thinking unless they tell you.
Right.
What they're thinking.
Right.
Don't assume.
That'll get you in trouble. Yeah. When you assume, you know what happens there.
Yeah.
So you really just never know. And it's like, looking back, it's a beautiful thing. And I would encourage you to do what we did, right? Yesterday we timelined out our story, and I think it's a very powerful exercise because there was gems that we didn't even know.
Yeah, we totally forgot about. And then when we heard about them or remembered them, we got goosebumps because we look where those people are at today.
Yeah.
Those people were working a 9-to-5 job, barely making it. Yeah. And now they're successful multimillionaires impacting their local community by putting in, centers and doing all kinds of crazy things that they never thought would have been able to imagine. And if it wouldn't have been for me or Brian or this story or us meeting, just because it's the trickle-down effect,
right?
That snowball starts as a little flake, and then as it starts rolling down a hill, it can turn into a massive avalanche.
Yeah.
But this is a positive avalanche, not a negative one.
Yeah. So do that exercise with some of the people that you're close with, those relationships, those business partnerships, those business relationships, and then also just friends and family. I mean, timeline out your journey and see where were the big milestones, where was there friction, what were the lessons on that journey. Yeah. And you'll find some gems there that not only will benefit you and your relationship, but it'll also be able to, when you share them, I think that's a key point.
Yep.
When you actually share them with others, then you'll be able to bless other people in the process.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, that's 100% key right there.
Yeah. I always say, bless and be blessed. Well, what does that mean? It's like, well, when you share your experience, your knowledge, your wisdom, your expertise with someone else, you're blessing their life.
That's right.
Right?
Yep.
Because you're helping them go through something painful that you're helping them go through something that you went through, but without having to go through the pain of it.
Right. Yep.
Right? Because you're taking your experience, your knowledge, your wisdom, you're sharing it with them, and then they don't have to go through that trial and error.
But remember, do it selflessly.
Right.
That's the biggest key here. Because if you're expecting a result, you're going to be disappointed.
Right.
That's the number one thing. If you do it selflessly, it's going to change and it'll work out. That's what how Brian did it with me.
Yeah. And now we're here.
Yeah. One of the greatest things that I can do here for Brian, is kind of give him, kudos. So, this legacy builders, if you want to get involved with Brian, he can provide so much value, because he can help take the companies to the next level. Because on a timeline that we did yesterday, we showed all the different people that you impacted because he has a proven system and process now. And, if you're willing to put in the work, it's astronomical what can happen.
Right.
It really can. They have to put in the work, and not give up. Yeah. But you and your team, right. You can take all of this and just make it explode. You've done it hundreds of times.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous how many times this has happened. And it's not by just luck.
Yeah.
It's a proven method. It's a proven system. And, Brian's impacting the world, and he's going to continue impacting the world. Yeah. So if you ever need anything, and you need help with structure, but you have to trust fully. No one ever fails unless they give up.
Right.
True. With systems and processes, they're repeatable. They work every time, but you have to put in the effort and you never give up.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, and so I would say, guys, if you need any help, that's why we're here. So if you need any help from a done-for-you perspective, like you need help launching your expertise, you need help taking your knowledge, your skills, your wisdom, whatever it is that you've become great at and that you want to bless other people with, then we have an agency for that. You can go to perfectfunnelsystem.com and we'd be happy to help you in that capacity. Or like Dave said with Henry Ford, right? It was not about doing it all himself.
Right. No,
it was about who can he call on to help him with that specific specialized knowledge. And at the end of the day, self-education as an industry is growing to $1 billion a day, and it's going to continue to grow because traditional education is broken.
Yes.
That is clearly broken. Secondly, trial and error. Who wants to do that? That's not smart.
No, we want to take an expert,
right?
Put it in our minds, and
people are waking up to the realization that you can take specialized knowledge, find someone who has specialized knowledge, who has the results you want, and hire them to help you get the result you want. Right? It's really rather simple if you think about it.
Right.
But I think it's about putting it into context. And we're so used to, as a society and as a nation, going in one direction and doing what everyone else says to do to be successful. The world's waking up to that traditional path is broken, right? So guys, if you need help, you can go to perfectfunnelsystem.com. We have a done-for-you agency where we operate in our gifting, our area of expertise, and help you launch your expertise, kind of like we did with Shemin, that we talked about today.
Yep.
Or you can check out what we're doing at my personal brand, which is briandelaney.com. And I have tons of free resources for you, webinars and challenges and all types of fun stuff that you can participate in for free. Because again, I do truly believe in earning the right to make an offer. I practice what I preach and I preach what I practice.
Well, I just want to interrupt you there because there was a guy I remember who became your client, and he followed you for the last 9 years on YouTube because he kept providing so much value over and over and over again. And the guy came in and said, I've been watching you. I need you today.
Yep.
Here's the money. Let's go.
Yep.
Never ask him really any question because that guy was following you. He provided the value through that whole process.
Value in advance, right? Or results in advance, right? So earn the right. I would recommend if you're looking to turn your expertise, your knowledge, your wisdom, your results for others into a business that blesses you and blesses others and truly make a great impact, you've got to understand the simple principle that we shared today, which was earn the right.
That's right.
I'm going to be making some t-shirts up for everyone. Earn the right to make an offer. And every time, literally every time I've done this, our story is really the embodiment of that. But when you earn the right, when you come in with the expectation of I'm going to provide massive value in advance before I ever make an offer, before I ever ask for the sale, then eventually I'll have the opportunity to ask for the sale or ask or make the offer.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
And that's the aftermath of our relationship. And so many other great things have happened because I earned the right to make an offer.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
So guys, again, Perfectfunnelsystem.com is a resource for you if you need it. We have a huge team of people that can help you on your journey from branding to video production to course development to technical help, with implementation of building funnels. I mean, you name it, we're a full service boutique marketing agency. So we run traffic, we run advertising, we do all that. You can rely on that resource if you need it, right? Or if you just want to learn more about what we're doing, you can go to briandelaney.com as well.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool. Thanks for listening.